my top 15 roller coasters. Okay, let's go. At number 15 on our list, we have Magnum XL 200. This ride would be a lot higher on my list if I didn't have as bad of a ride that I did this year. But it still is a good ride that still has lots and lots of airtime with those weird triangle hills. Following that, we have Raptor at Cedar Point. This ride has fallen far away from when it sat in my top 5, but it's still a good ride. With the ride's multiple forceful inversions. Next up, we have Incredible Hulk, which basically is just made up from the launch and the theming, because remove those two and it's just a normal B&M looper. But I mean, also the on-ride soundtrack is good as well. With my recent ride on Banshee, I have realized that this is a better ride than Raptor. I enjoyed it a lot more when I rode it this year than I enjoyed Raptor when I rode it. Nice, forceful inversions on this, great speed. Rattle could be a little turn off for people, but other than that, it's good. Next up, we have Gatekeeper, the only wing coaster I've ever ridden. I feel like this is underrated. It's fun, it's has good hang time, some nice forces, which I don't hear a lot. Like a lot of other coasters at Cedar Point, this ride just gets overshadowed by a bunch of other rides, which I can see because it's literally Cedar Point. Following that, we have Orion, which I feel like this is very underrated. Now, I haven't ridden Fury yet, so I don't really know, how good a B&M Giga should be. But this was a nice ride, pulled moderate to good forces. Next up, we have Maverick, a coaster that's more focused on being intense and whippy, more than fast and graceful. What really makes this ride just with a perfect final moment for me is those 2 Stangle dives. And I hear people saying, why is the train only 3 cars long? Well, the thing is, if it was more than 3 cars long, the airtime would just be too insane. And it just shows you, how great this ride is. Following that, we have a coaster that I never see in anyone's top 10. Legend. Now, is it because that everyone else is waiting in Voyage's 4-hour line at Hollywood Nights for too long to get a night ride on this? Maybe. But really, back row night ride on Legend during Hollywood Nights is something else. It might not be as good as Voyage, I don't know, I haven't ridden Voyage. But one thing I do know is this is by far the most underrated coaster on my list. Now going to the only defunct coaster on my list, we have Top Thrill Dragster, which, I'm gonna be honest with you, the top hat doesn't really do anything for me. For me, it's really only launch. It's just so, the launch is so good that it puts it into the 7th place spot on this list. I hope that Top Thrill 2 can even have half of the intensity of that original hydraulic launch. Going from a speed focus to an airtime focus, we have Diamondback at Kings Island. Riding Diamondback this year has given me a new appreciation for B&M Hypers. This being the first year I've noticed how much floater this has. Prior to this year, my favorite Hyper was Magnum actually, but riding this year and then riding Magnum this year has pushed this far past Magnum. Back to Intamins for a moment, Millennium Force at the number 5 spot. If you ride this ride at night, it is way, way better than if you were to ride it a day. This is the second time I've gotten a night ride on this. The first time was last year, where last year wasn't as good as this year's. I guess I just got a better ride on it this year. Number 4 spot, just outside of the top 3, we have Phantom's Revenge. Going into this ride, I knew it would have good airtime, potentially great, but I didn't know that it would be that good in the back row. Like, the only reason this isn't in my top 3 is that, well, taking bronze, we have Mystic Timbers. Me riding this during Winterfest is the only reason I didn't post this video during December, and I'm fine with that because now this has made its way into my top 3. Somehow, the only time I get good rides on this are during Winterfest. I don't know why, that's just how it is. Steel Vengeance is taking silver. All I can say about this is probably the greatest airtime you can get on Earth. And it decides to even throw in a couple of whippy inversions in as well. In taking gold, we have Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure. Remember how I said earlier on this list that theming was one of the only reasons that I put Hulk on this list? That applies to this, but you basically take the airtime from, like, not as good as Steel Vengeance, but really good. Throw in a couple of inversions, including the Mosasaurus roll. It gets you an amazing coaster. Thank you for watching me rank my top 15 coasters, and I will see you in the next video.